It's soup night! Yay! So we're gonna saute the onions, and we're gonna put this in the big pot with some water, and we're just gonna let it kind of simmer for a few minutes to soften it up, and then when we're done with the stuff over here, we'll transfer it over, and then it won't take too long. All right. Is anybody allergic to any of this stuff? All right. I would like to pray if that's okay with you. Yes. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for these women and just the fun and the privilege that we get to come together and learn from each other. And I just thank you for the gift you've given me and the way I've been able to minister to others with it. And I pray that we don't have any big mishaps with it and that we'll have a really great time. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. Something that I learned from my mom, she always was helping people who were, having trouble or sick, always taking a meal or taking fried chicken to them. And so that's something I was able to do. And I had several friends when we were having our babies that were having babies too. So that's just what I did. I took a whole soup and some bread. These are called Southern hash browns, and they're just they're cute potatoes if you want. But honestly, I don't want to cut them up today, so turn that on. And then we're gonna saute some onions. So everybody know how to saute. So you're basically cooking them in butter and just let them soften. I've never used this oven before. So, we'll see.
I like the pots and pans.
And you can put as much onion and celery and garlic in it as you want. I thought I had more celery today, but it all went in the chicken noodle soup. So, if you don't have celery, you can use celery flakes, but when they're expired, you don't need to use them. So, just forgive me on that. I like to have grace. Yeah. But you can put minced garlic in it, fresh garlic, and actually fresh garlic in the chicken noodle soup is really good. You can tell a difference. I have a jar of the minced, which is really easy to just, get it out that way.
Ginger. Does the minced garlic in the jar taste as good as the fresh?
Not quite as good.
Okay.
But it's a good substitute.
Okay.
And in soups, I usually put about a tablespoon of it instead of just like 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. And it kind of just heightens the flavor a little bit. Also, if you feel like your soup just needs something, garlic salt, and put a little bit on it, and I don't know, it just takes the flavor. Woo! Really makes it go. What I've done is should have let one of y'all come up here and do this. This is how I teach my students,
Ginger, how long, the jarred garlic, the minced garlic, how long does that last after you open it? I've never used that.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. You can get a little jar that's about like this, and it's in the produce section, usually on the end of one of the things, and or if you can get fresh garlic, put it in a little net bag, or like my mom used to have those little baskets that you put your onions and potatoes in. So you can do that if you want. I'm only going to put about a half of this bag in. Like I told them, we are going to have recipes for you. So yes, we have recipes of tomato cheese and the chicken noodle soup. I think there's some nice scissors. Yes, thank you. And I have another one called tomato bisque. It's really easy to make. And I've not ever really been a fan of tomato soup, but this stuff is really good. It has half and half in it, so you can't go wrong with half and half. We also have some rolls here, courtesy of Luigi's. These are already made up, so we just took them and put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer. And I just took them out of the bag and put them on a pan and just spin them. Now, if you're in a real hurry, if you don't have time, you can put your onions and some butter in a a bowl and stick them in the microwave for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then they'll be nice and soft. Years ago, I just kind of got on a soup kick. I wanted to learn to make homemade chicken noodle soup. That just sounded really, really good. So a lot of trial and error went into this. But what I started with was the recipe for chicken and dumplings from Cracker Barrel. Like, my husband bought a bunch of these books by Todd Wilber, and he does like copycats. And some of the recipes are very, very much the same. So I took that recipe. Of course, I didn't put dumplings in it, but and I just started playing with it. You know, we added onions and garlic and all of that, and it's just kind of come up to this, and I'm kind of proud of that. But it is really good. It can feed a lot of people. You can use it for, maybe not so much for soup, but you could kind of use the base of that for like chicken pot pie. Like, you can take some of the vegetables and chicken and then put a pastry or pie crust on top and just heat it till the pie crust is brown and flaky. You can also do chicken and dumplings in there, and I've done that too. If you don't know how to make dumplings, they have them in the frozen section that you can just take them and pour them in there. Sometimes I make creamy chicken noodle soup, so you can put milk or half and half, and sometimes I just add a can of evaporated milk. It's good. Just remember it's concentrated, so you might want to add water to it. This soup has half and half in it. Yeah, I learned this soup from a lady that I worked with. We used to, like, we were assigned a weekend that we worked, and we all pitched in and brought food. She was the most amazing cook. And so I got this recipe. You can also use this instead of potatoes. Put broccoli in it if you like broccoli cheese. And of course, if you put Velveeta, it just, that makes everything good. So just another minute or so. So then I'm gonna make a roux. Have you heard of that? Does everyone know how to do that? It's kind of the base of a roux, R-O-U-X. It's kind of the base of gravy, sauces like white sauce. And really, you can do it with anything. Sometimes I'll do it if I want to thicken up the soup. It's basically a fat, so butter or oil, like hot oil, and then you put the same amount of flour in it and mix it until it's just really mixed very well, and then put your liquid over it. So here we're going to use milk. The thing with milk, though, you have to cook it on a medium temperature and stir it, because otherwise it sticks to the bottom of the pan and it messes up the flavor of all of it. All right, so these are nice and soft, and we're just going to use the butter that's in here. And I got a little bit of just all-purpose flour here. If you don't want to do this method and you're needing to thicken your soup, something you can do is you can pull out some of the liquid and get some of the brown gravy mix it around. I mean, you have to really mix it like with a whisk, and then you pour it back in your soup, and it'll thicken it up. Or you can use cornstarch. Well, usually you do equal amounts. So I put about a half a stick of butter in here to melt it, and then about a half a cup it's a fourth a cup. So it's a half a stick, so that's a fourth a cup of flour. So you want it to get like really pasty, which is it's getting kind of mushy because the onions are in there. So now we're gonna start pouring half and half in here. This stuff makes anything good. But if you're on a low-fat diet, it's not going to work. You can put a little bit of this in your chicken noodle soup. Got creamy chicken noodle soup. And it's very yummy. I think I'm going to use 2 of these. So these are a quart Just 2 quarts. Or like I said, you can use evaporated milk or just regular milk. You can use skim milk, but it won't be near as good. And then if you actually have garlic and celery, you can put them in with the potatoes and let them get soft too. Or you can put it in here, it really doesn't matter.
Smelling good.
Can you smell it?
good.
Yeah. This is like a favorite, a family favorite. I don't know, when you have kids, they don't always like everything that you cook. Like this is one of them. And then they used to when they get sick of them. But I'm gonna go ahead and you can put as much Velveeta as you want. I like to do the white Velveeta, but this doesn't have any peppers in it like that. But it just, and then if you really want to kind of spruce it up, you can use this and then some sharp cheese. Sometimes just having that contrast, it just kind of takes it to another level. And you guys know that I don't think there's really any cheese in here. I mean, it's not healthy at all. But again, it's really, really good. First, you can use the regular Velveeta too. I've also, if you really didn't want to use this, you really wanted to make it easy, you can use the shredded Velveeta. I would probably put about 2 bags in this. I did bring some if you wanted to kind of put it on the top. You can do that. And I've also seen like a Southwest potato soup, like you could put Bradshaw tomatoes in it and peppers if you like that. I've seen that like in restaurants. I personally don't like real hot stuff, so. Or you could put cayenne pepper in it. That would make it hot too.
I think they moved it.
And I did wash my hands before I started, so. Nursing taught me a lot about that. This is 16 ounces of cheese. Pour it right in there. You want me to drop it?
Honey.
Is there anyone that doesn't like salt and pepper? No? Okay. I'll put just some in here, but you can add to it if you want. Something I was going to tell you, if you use commercial broth, let's see what else. Like packages of things, like packages of brown gravy mix, those things tend to be real high in salt. Anything that's processed is going to be higher in salt. So salt's usually kind of the last thing that I put on and just taste it. I'm just going to put a little bit. All right, we're just kind of waiting until the cheese melts. You think you could do it? Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you ever heard the saying, you're in the soup now? Well, what it means is I'm in trouble. I forgot something. Maybe I said something offensive, and there are going to be consequences. I'm in the soup now, is what that means. So it might be highly entertaining if you and I all sat down to share all the times that we got in the soup. Don't you think that might be really interesting? But tonight we're going to look at soup as a metaphor for our lives in a good context. We are each a complex soup of experiences and emotions. Can I get an amen? Yes. And relationships that create the unique flavor of our lives. And when God becomes the master chef of our life soup, we're going to notice some differences in the final flavor. Of all the life-changing encounters that we have in the Bible, my favorite is Martha's. Martha's story is awesome. Unfortunately, the name Martha is most often given a negative connotation because she's most often associated with mixed up priorities. Someone who cares more about getting things done than sitting at the feet of Jesus. My own children have called me Martha more than once, and it's not a compliment. In Luke 10:38-42, it says, "Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. And she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered her, 'Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.'" Have you ever gotten it wrong? Publicly? How would you like to be identified forever by one less than stellar moment in your entire life? Besides being chided by the Lord of the universe, Martha's mistake was recorded by Dr. Luke for all time. So can you imagine how that would feel? After that, it wouldn't have been surprising if Martha just kind of faded out of the biblical narrative. She probably felt like her soup of life had lost its flavor. And next to her sister Mary's devotion to Jesus, Martha's gift of cooking might have seemed pathetic. If she had disappeared completely, we might assume a sad ending to her story. But wait, there's more. So when Martha heard, this is from John 11, when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him. But Mary remained seated in the house. This is when Lazarus has died and Jesus has finally made his way to their home after waiting 4 days. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." So after Mary and Martha's brother Lazarus died, who was the first to dart out to meet Jesus? It was Martha. Not to disrespect Mary, but for some reason she remained in the house. The Bible says it. She remained in the house until Martha came to tell her that the teacher was asking for her. Then let's notice, when Martha and Mary encountered Jesus separately, both greeted him using the exact same words. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." But Martha added something else. She said, "But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." We can't hear her tone, but those words convey 3 things to me. Respect for his power and his position as the Son of God. Her words convey submission to his authority and will. She acknowledged that he could call on God and raise her brother from the dead, but she didn't insist that he do it. And the last thing her words convey is hope. Although the worst had happened, Lazarus was dead, the words, even now, convey her hope. So even as Martha's heart was breaking with grief, she was brave enough to ask Jesus questions, confident enough to express her belief in his deity, and submissive enough to defer to his will. Finally, did you know it was to Martha that Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life? What a gift. He entrusted her with the information that he held ultimate power over life and death. From these clues, it seems that Martha's life soup was not made up of what we might expect: self-disgust, defeat, derision. Instead, she seems to have come to understand that in spite of her earlier error, she was valued and accepted by the Christ, the Son of God. So Jesus didn't turn away from her, and he won't turn away from you and me. We all have those moments, probably more than one, when we choose the lesser thing or even the wrong thing to add to our soup of life. But being reprimanded for those choices, it doesn't feel good, does it? Instead of giving up, though, we can hear Jesus saying, come and see his open arms, no matter what we've done. So here's the truth. Jesus is in the business of making tasty soup from your life.